course of the last few months, I have embarked on a journey, if you will, trying to just learn more about my body, figure out how my body works, and figure out the best routine, things that work for me specifically and uniquely as a person. And I wanted to share today 15 of the smaller ways that I have been trying to improve my life in a holistic way when it comes to health, when it comes to fitness, relationships, all of these things that I think work together to really make up the sum of our life. That being said, what works for me isn't necessarily going to work entirely for you. I always want to say that in these videos because that's actually one of my points, that we are all so unique and we all work so differently. And I think a lot of these kind of more self-help videos can come off as, if you do this, you're going to feel great, or if you do this, you'll feel just like me. And that's just not how life works. And that's something that I've been learning over the last few months. But I still think it's helpful to share some things that I have learned if you were just looking to change a few things in your own life, try out a few new things and see if they also work for you. I hope this video is helpful. The first thing has been learning about my body. I've talked about this one. This one is not new. I was amazed about how much I just did not know about my body as a woman when it came to my cycles, when it came to my hormones, all these things that really make us who we are and that are so unique. And I just knew nothing about myself. And I feel like over the last few months, I've really been on this journey of learning so much more about me and kind of keeping that relationship with myself when it comes to who I am and my hormones and everything. And so there are a few books that I read that I loved that were so life-giving and taught me so much. The first thing is Taking Charge of Your Fertility. I'm sure you've seen this one before. It is a dense read, but the things that I've learned about how my cycles work, about fertility, all those things, that book is great. And since I've had trouble getting my cycles to regulate, I've been reading this period repair manual, and I really like this. It talks about natural treatment for better hormones and better periods. Really like this one. Implementing play into your life. I can't imagine how much this is even bigger of a component when you have children and you're actually playing with your children and seeing them work through life for the first time and seeing everything through their eyes. That has to be one of the most amazing things. But for now, I have a dog, and I still really enjoy playing with my dog. And I think that there's just something so special when you can forget all of the kind of heavier, more burdensome parts of our life and just play like a child. I think we can learn so much from children and how they look at the world, and having that childlike faith about the world is so special. And sometimes I will catch myself just being so caught up in my work or being stressed out by adult responsibilities that I forget to incorporate play. And it's so good for your health to have this too, to feel those endorphins when you're chasing your dog or chasing your kids or just putting down the phone and focusing on playing with someone or something, I think is so good for us. Limiting caffeine. I'm a big coffee drinker. I love coffee. I love the taste of it. I love the atmosphere around coffee shops. They make me really happy. But the more research I've done about my body and trying to be healthier when it comes to my hormones, I've learned how caffeine is just, for the most part, not really doing us any favors, especially if you're someone like me who is drinking 1, 2, 3 cups of coffee a day. Right now, I just stick with a morning cup of coffee, but soon I am really going to try to completely eliminate it. And I'm excited about that. I'm definitely going to document that journey. That's something that just in the past week, I've kind of realized kind of been a symbol in my life for always pushing through and not allowing myself to rest. And I think we're all different with this too. Not everyone has that same relationship with caffeine, but caffeine really does heighten those cortisol levels. And basically everything right now for me, to the most part, I mean, a good amount of cortisol is obviously good, but I've been trying to lower those things, and that is something that is not helping at all. Getting some direct sunlight. So I also have been really open about talking about wearing sunscreen more, so I don't want to sound hypocritical in here. I do think it's good for us to get 15 minutes of sun just to get that direct sunlight. There's a period on our balcony where we get a bit of direct sunlight. We don't get a ton, but I love going out on our balcony and just feeling that on my skin. This is from an article I read. It says that vitamin D is another health benefit given to us by our oldest pal in the sky. Vitamin D plays a big role in bone health, and low vitamin D levels have been linked to rickets in children and bone diseases like osteoporosis. It only takes 5 to 15 minutes of sunlight exposure on your arms, hands, and face to get your daily value. Taking pride in your home. This is one of my biggest things. I think it's a great small way just to appreciate where you are and to find joy in literally your home environment. I work from home, so I have learned to really be in love with our home. And even though we're in an apartment right now, this isn't the place I'm going to live live for the rest of my life, I still want to have gratitude for it and appreciate that God gave me the space and really bring honor to it. So that's why our balcony is like a little oasis that I love. That's why I love making our living space kind of cozy. I love decorating for the seasons, and that I can invite people over and just really have a welcoming environment that I like. Literally running on empty. And for me, this means to incorporate breakfast sooner throughout the day. I am someone who has always believed that I'm just not really hungry in the morning. I don't like to eat first thing in the morning. Intermittent fasting was something that I would do for a period of time. You know, I would just drink my coffee and go for a run. But I realized that that's just training my body to, again, run on empty and run on that high cortisol that is just not good for me. And so something I've been trying to implement over the last few months is eating sooner in the day. Again, I'm not perfect at this one right now because I still don't have quite the appetite right in the morning, but I've been trying to eat within 30 minutes of waking up every single day and eating a satiating breakfast that's high in fat, things like eggs, avocados, really getting the protein into and just nourishing my body so my body doesn't feel like it's in a starved state. And I think a lot of times when you don't start your day like that, you feel jittery, you feel stressed out. And honestly, if I don't have time to eat breakfast, then some things need to change, because that's one of the biggest things for me that I can do. Elevating the mundane. This is no surprise for anyone who's watched my videos. I love romanticizing small moments of my day. I love lighting our candles when we eat dinner, just Aid and I. I love wearing dresses just for the fun of it and, you know, getting ready even though I don't necessarily have anything going on that day. I'm such a believer that the things that you do every single day, those small things, your morning coffee, even though we're trying to kind of cut that out, taking those simple things that you do every single day and making them enjoyable, because that time adds up over the course of your life, and soon you realize, and this is for me being an adult, was just realizing that those mundane things are actually just life. You know, planning a date night for a Thursday night just because. Those are the things that make life worth living. And it doesn't mean that you enjoy every single one of those things. There are things that I hate doing, like folding laundry. That's never gonna be romantic for me. I don't like it, and that just has to get done. But I think there are small things that are mundane that you can romanticize and make them more enjoyable, so do it. Growing your own food, this doesn't mean you have to have like a full-on garden by any means, because I have the tiniest garden in the world, and we just have a few herbs. We have parsley, there's Thai basil, which is really thriving. That's the main thing that's popping off. Italian basil, and then we also have rosemary at the top. It's simple, it's small, but I think you just appreciate food more too when you actually see the fruit of your labor, and it's been really enjoyable. I like having like simple things that give me a sense of responsibility every day, like watering the garden and taking care of it. Prayer. And I don't think prayer is a tiny thing either. This is probably the biggest thing in this video. I believe there's so much power in prayer. And I say prayer, but I mean doing it every single day. It's one of those things that I think it's so easy to feel stressed and anxious, but to not actually voice those feelings to God, and also to voice feelings about other things beyond you too. And if you're someone like me who sometimes has trouble just sitting down and coming up with prayers, I do have a few devotionals that I really, really like. I have these all linked on my Amazon storefront too, if you're interested. The biggest one is probably Every Moment Holy. And the reason why I say that is because this has guided prayers in it of just, you know, prayers for a bunch of different things. This one is specifically on grieving. And so there are prayers for seasons of uncertainty, prayers for when the news is bad, before a medical treatment, for a time of widespread suffering. So it kind of guides you along those feelings and can help you pray. So I really like this one. Piercing Heaven, this is one that actually I got from a really sweet friend through YouTube. And this one has a bunch of different prayers from Puritans in the past, another special one. And then these are just my two favorite devotionals of all time. We have New Morning Mercies and My Utmost for His Highest. I adore these two. And these have all just been so helpful for me with, you know, growing my faith. And I really appreciate those resources. Letting go of what doesn't fit you, literally. I started doing this a couple months ago too, and that's just pruning my closet of things that no longer physically fit me. I wouldn't say I ever even felt bad when I would put on a pair of jeans and they no longer fit, but I would just have stuff from high school. Obviously, my body now is so different than what I looked like in high school, or even so different than what I looked like 2 years ago, and I think that's a good thing. And sometimes keeping those things around, I know especially for certain people, can be kind of traumatizing, and it can just remind you of things, make you feel bad thoughts, and so just getting rid of those, sell them on Poshmark, make some side money. Also welcoming just more gentle movement. This has been a big one. I am very particular about my fitness routine. I used to think I had to do this really sweaty, 45-minute intensive HIIT workout or it just didn't count. And that is so not me anymore. I've been so chill when it comes to workouts, have been trying to incorporate a lot more strength training. I still love, longer distance running because I think that's really great for my mind and my mental clarity. Being okay with just stretching one day. I really want to try to get into Pilates too. These are things I want to try to incorporate more that I'm excited to. Love the one you're with, which is kind of cheesy. I know this is a song lyric. I think especially within a marriage, it's easy to just get used to being around that person. Aiden and I just celebrated 2 years of marriage, which is really special. And sometimes I just have to remind myself how crazy awesome it is to get to spend my life with someone for the rest of my life. And we just get to grow and mold together. It's such a beautiful thing. And we can lose sight of that though. We can start to feel like roommates. We can start to feel like life is just mundane. And so just taking the time to actually love that person in the way that they love to be loved, especially if that's quality time, physical touch, whatever that is, spending time in that capacity. Embracing the seasons. I love embracing the seasons. I do live in Texas, so we don't necessarily get all seasons equally, but this doesn't mean you have to go out and just buy a bunch of new home decor. Maybe you just start cooking more seasonally, learning about which food is, better in your area during certain seasons. Having those small joys that are new each season, I think is so beautiful. And it's just a reminder that where you're at right now is not always where you're going to be. I really believe that life does come in seasons, which one of my favorite passages from Ecclesiastes that I love talks about this. It says, "For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up, a time to break down, a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together." And it goes on and on and on, but I just love that passage because it's a reminder that especially if you're going through a rough time right now, that this is not the rest of your life. It's a season. Implementing more physical touch. I'm a big physical touch person. This is one of my biggest love languages. I feel connection with people when I physically hug them, when I'm physically holding their hands. And I think especially within marriage, it's easy to think of physical touch just in terms of, say, sex. There's so much importance in like cuddling with that person and just being physically close, hugging that person and having that with someone else. I love hugging my friends. These are just things that bring warmth into your life scientifically. And lastly is just to release the urge to cram your schedule. This is another one of the ones that I actually don't think is very tiny, but I do think it takes making small choices every single day to say no if something's not gonna fit in, to not cram things. I have realized how important it is to have margin in my schedule because that allows me to help someone be spontaneous, be able to go to a friend when they need your help last minute and you're not just in this rigid schedule. So hard for me to learn personally. This is not how I am wired by any means, but I've been trying to train myself to say no, and I will realize when I'm about to say yes to something that no, this isn't actually what you should be doing. This is what you're trained to think. And you gotta say no. And those are the ways that I have been trying to improve my life. I'm not perfect at these things. This doesn't mean that you have to do all these things, but I just know how much I have felt happier and joyful where I'm at in life by doing these things. And so I wanted to share them today. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for allowing me to make these videos and just being so kind on here. I'm so grateful for this community and you guys mean so much to me. Catch you guys in my next video. Bye friends.